No, I know, because you have so many friends in the industry and everybody goes around talking about you, Gattu this, Gattu that. So everyone's just like, yeah, Gattu ki film. But his name is not Gattu. He's not my cousin.
This idea came to me in 2017. There was this lady by the name of Simran Sani. It's when I started to film, I found out from Simran that she has twins. She had twin boys and they both made a transition. They're both girls now. And such wonderful girls they are. I was more interested in meeting men who are married to trans people. Eventually, he himself caught me aside. He says, "Sir, अपने बीच में जो अपना sex में चलता है ना, बहुत top है. America is at a different place. There's so much more awareness in that society that they should be promoting the trans community out there to play those lead roles. But this is a start. You've got to start somewhere. You've got to bring some kind of understanding."
Hi, Abhishek. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Is it weird when people start calling you Gattu randomly? Like, what the hell? You're not my friend.
Not at all, man. Please call me Gattu. Everyone calls me Gattu. So.
No, I'm not going to call you Gattu. That's overtly familiar. But thank you so much for your time.
I think the name sounds it's too nicknamey, but I'm so used to it. So.
No, I know, because you have so many friends in the industry and everybody goes around talking about you, Gattu this, Gattu that. So everyone's just like, yeah, Gattu ki film. But his name is not Gattu. He's not my cousin. I find it kind of bizarre. Anyway, so congrats on all the good response that you're getting so far on Chandigarh. Were you expecting it's mostly been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, it has been. It's been the opinions and the feedback has been great. People are appreciating the fact that we ventured into this territory. And they've also kind of appreciated the handling of it. So I feel quite.
So your film is dedicated to Sushant Singh Rajput, which was unexpected, but it was a somber reminder that he's gone. But it was also a reminder of the fact that your movies, Abhishek, have a very real beating heart. They kind of almost have a pulse that I felt in every viewing of every film that you've directed, that I can touch and I can feel and I can breathe with your films. For this one in particular, which I called your most audacious attempt so far, how long did you stay and live and breathe with this story, with this subject, before you put pen to paper?
This idea came to me in 2017. There was this lady by the name of Simran Sani. And she came to me, this is before Kedarnath. And she said that she came through someone, and it's very rare that I would just kind of, because I'm so busy with my own stuff. But there's just one random day when I just said, okay, I'll meet her. And she came in and she started to narrate a story to me, which was a typical rom-com. And then suddenly she threw in this transgender angle. But then the whole film went into a very serious kind of way, about the character. It was a very different story that she had, but the idea of a transgender kind of was seated at that point. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. I saw it from the man's point of view, I said, I would be freaked out, and I know a lot of people who've been through very similar experiences, like, they've been to nightclubs and you see this really beautiful woman, she's tall, she's stunning. And, you just make some moves in there and you find out that sometimes they're just cross-dressing or she's trans. And so I found it funny in the beginning. I thought that could be a real shocker. And from the man's point of view, it was, that's the way to tell the story, But then what I told her was, I thought she should just park this idea with me because I'm very fascinated by it. And I kept visiting it. And then after Kedarnath, I started to work on this. And then I met a lot of trans people. In fact, it's when I started to film Chandigarh Kare Aashiqui that I found out from Simran that she has twins. She had twin boys and they both made a transition. They're both, girls now. And such wonderful girls they are. When I started to get into it, I met a lot of trans people. But while meeting them, I found them to be exceptional individuals, because they've made the transition. Like, the more you dive into it, you take your identity for granted. What you think and your body, you just know that they're in sync. I never even crossed my mind to think that what if my mind told me that I'm in the wrong body, and to live with that. It's just traumatic. It's worse than a prison sentence. People who go through this transition, they have to go through a year and a half of counseling. There are doctors who talk them through it. Just be sure of what they're thinking. Doctors need to counsel them and tell them that, yes, you are ready for a transition or not. And
Yeah.
then they go through surgery, they go through medication, and finally, what do they have? They just have the body that they thought they should be in. It's such a short journey from your mind to your body, but it is a complete universe for them. That really uh, blew me away. I think that
Yeah.
is the reason I thought I should just get in there and make this movie, and if I can drive this point home.
Your film has released on the same day as a Steven Spielberg musical in theaters. West Side Story has also released on 10th December. So that's the movie that you're competing against for audiences right now, at least here in India. And somebody asked him the same question also, that why are you doing this? This movie already exists. You are making the same film again. And he said because the story was very personal to him, because it was his childhood and it was very special and things like that. Why this story for you? Why did this compel you? Just because you thought the whole world was fascinating and interesting to explore and learn more about on a personal level?
No, actually, I was saying something to you earlier, but then I lost my thought. But I just want to come back to that. And people who've made that transition, they are so there is such a sense of accomplishment. That when you interact with them, they know how to take care of themselves. They know who they are now, and they
Yeah.
also respect your opinion. They're also like, if as a transgender person, people I met, they've been through. They've also had so many boyfriends, and they always come to the stage, where sometimes the man is madly in love with them, but he doesn't know what to do in society, and does he have the balls to, courage to stand up to it, and it always fails at that point.
Yeah.
And then it comes at that point, the man starts to behave really funny when it comes to his family, and he starts to get abusive towards the woman also, like he can't,
Yes.
he's so not able to cope with his own mind that he starts to vent it on the other person. And
Yeah.
I saw all the trans girls I met, they all just knew how to handle it. You keep your shit to yourself. I'm here for you, but if you can't cross this line and walk towards me, just let me be now, because they know it, and just their handling of scenarios is so dignified. But yeah, I mean, I think that is more than enough for me to just want to tell the story.
Why not then hire a writer who's from the trans community to help you create this story with the authenticity that a subject matter like this deserves?
I don't think you need to be a trans person to write a trans film. You don't need to. You don't need to do that. I mean, in fact, I've had so many trans people supporting me in the writing process. In
Hmm.
fact, I more than meeting trans people, I was more interested in meeting men who are married to trans people. In fact, I did meet finally, like went to so many trans people, but I couldn't meet their boyfriends. Sometimes they didn't want to come forth. Sometimes, they just gone through a breakup. But then finally, I did meet one couple. They were married. Her name is Madhuri, and her husband worked in a factory, and I was so interested in talk. Finally, got to meet the man, who's with this woman, and how does he handle it. He was like a really solid, dignified man, and he said, I had a girlfriend, and when I met her, I started talking to her. I just fell in love with her thoughts and the way she is. And then when I was going to marry her, I told my friends and family, and they said, "Tu pagal hai kya? Usse shadi karega? वो ऐसी है, वो ऐसी है." And you know what he said? He told them, तेरे को क्या मालूम उसके बारे में? तू मिला है क्या उससे? तू बात किया उससे कभी? तेरे को कुछ भी आता है क्या? And he's not from an affluent society. He's a low middle class man. He says, मैं जानता हूँ उसको. I know her. And उससे अच्छा कोई है नहीं.
Yeah.
And he said, I had a very beautiful girlfriend, but this woman just blew me away. And eventually he himself caught me aside. He says, और सर अपने बीच में जो अपना सेक्स में चलता है ना, बहुत टॉप है. आपको ऐसा लगता है ना दिमाग में, ऐसा नहीं है, बहुत अच्छा है. And that just sealed it for me, just to
Right.
know that this man has a complete relationship and it's not a compromise for him.
Right. Now, the treatment that you've given this very serious topic is that of comedy, situational comedy, romantic comedy. It's light. There's a light-handedness to it with the way you've told the story. Now, why do that? Why not make it a more serious, more intense film? Is that to invite more people in to be able to kind of watch these stories play out?
For subject matters like this, I think what you primarily need to do, I mean, it's a genuine attempt, it's a very genuine attempt to create awareness. But
Yeah.
firstly, you have to bring some understanding to the table. You have to make people understand what's going on. Then you will kind of, bring acceptance, because once there's understanding, there's acceptance, and then there's normalization. Normally, when films are made about the LGBT community, especially the trans community, and if a trans person is making it, they have a lot of anguish within, and they're very angry with society because they're not being understood. So, and I didn't want the film to have that tone. that
Right.
that voice of harshness and pain, and that's her pain. It's inside her. She's dealing with it. Everybody deals with it. Strong people contain their pain, which most of them are doing. But to make it understandable, to reach a wider audience, you have to tell them in their language.
Yeah.
If I want to speak to you, I can't
Yeah.
speak to you in a language that you don't understand.
Yeah.
I have to bring them in, talk to them, but at the end of the day, the message is going right through. So I
Yeah.
think a telling like this would reach a far more larger audience than anything else.
I also thought that you managed to really walk that line between public service announcement and a romantic comedy, because you break the fourth wall. You show us interviews with the activists and doctors and screenwriters like Ghazal Taliwal is in your film, and it effectively breaks the fourth wall, inviting the people in, saying that this is real. These are very real people. These are very real things that happen, even though I'm putting it in a fictional world. So you're breaking the fourth wall there in a manner of speaking, and I thought that was pretty clever. Also recently, obviously not comparing Hollywood to India, because we are still in a completely different place when talking about these conversations, especially via popular culture and holding popular culture accountable for the mistakes that it has made in representation in history, specifically Hindi cinema. Trans characters have always been the butt of jokes more often than not. They've always been ridiculed and made fun of. Eddie Redmayne recently, who was nominated for his film The Danish Girl, went on the record and said that that was a mistake to do that part. And it wasn't that long ago. It was only in 2015, so it's not been that long ago. And he said that if he was to offer this part again, he will not do it, because these kinds of parts should go to actual trans actors. You obviously have a cisgender woman playing the trans woman in your film. What do you have to say about this? The fact that Hollywood is at a different place when it comes to reckoning and holding popular culture accountable, and where we are right now as a country.
I mean, it's not just Hollywood. I think America is at a different place. As far as society, they're far more evolved. They've done so many subjects and they've handled them. There's so much more awareness in that society that they should not. They should be promoting the trans community out there to play those lead roles. But this is a start. You've got to start somewhere. You've got to bring some kind of understanding. Otherwise, how will? And this is not the last movie that is being made about the community. It's probably the first. So I'm sure. And why everything is about actors? Why, like you asked me, why can't you celebrate that there is a mother of two trans children who's part of the seed of this film? Why
Yeah.
can't it be trans directors? Why can't it be trans writers? Why can't there be trans? There's a huge fascination that actors represent and actors are important, which they are. But you should celebrate that the intent is right and it's coming from the right place. There's no need to be this film has served its purpose, and
Yeah.
from here, if the conversation is right and it's making the right noise, maybe trans people will come in, and in future you'll see more movies like this.
I mean, look at us. We're having a conversation. I'm actually talking to a leading mainstream Bollywood director about trans women, which is a big step forward, which is something that is not happening even in 2019. It's not happening. It's happening now, which is great. The only reason actors are held more accountable is because they're the most visible part of a film. And trans actors usually get only parts where they're playing a certain kind of profession. And the fact that a team of mainstream filmmakers and writers have come together to write a part where a trans woman is a Zumba instructor, she's doing well in her life, she's not there's no pity party around her, she's empowered, she's cool. Maybe a trans actor should have that opportunity of employment, which our cinema has not provided so far.
Sure, they
um,
should. Of course, they should. But for now, this is what we have, and I'm hoping that this can start a new journey for the community.
how has Vaani, your leading actor, felt after watching the film? Have you guys discussed the movie and the whole
So
product?
she's been Yeah, of course. I mean, we made the whole film together, and it's a very brave move on a part to pick up this part. I mean, this is not Hollywood, and this is not America, and you know how the system works here. You actors have got their brands, they've got their audiences, they've got, they're so scared that they don't want to be looked at differently. They want to be
Stigmatized, yeah.
stigmatized, right? I mean, for her to pick this part after reading the script and trusting me with it, I give her a lot of credit for that courage that she showed me there. She's great, actually. She's such a good listener, and she's so keen. And see, like, when you ask me, like, why is a trans person not playing it, but the way it is written, we've really tried our best to get into the head of a trans person and the world around her, and to kind of believe that you are going through that kind of uh, deep diving she did as an actor. and I think a lot of appreciation is coming away for that.
One little grouse I had with the film was that I felt that the writing spent too much time on the male protagonist and his wins, considering in the larger conflict, and I said this in my review as well, that the larger conflict between a man and his masculinity and accepting a trans woman as a woman, he's not the underdog in this conflict. So when he is winning that sports competition, Gabru of the Year competition in the end, I felt like maybe if Vaani had entered, Manvi had entered a competition as a woman, won that competition, Manvinder had been sitting in the audience and realized that she is actually a woman as women can be. And then they walk off into the sunset doing Bhangra, dancing together.
Actually, before I got down to this setting for the story, there were many other avenues that we went into. I went into politics. I thought the movie could be set in politics, where there is like a consultant that a young political figure has, who's is telling him, and he's not having a great career, and she's the one who's advising him on how he should run his political campaign, and he doesn't know that she's a transgender woman. So there was one setting that we tried, but then we went to many areas, and then we came into this setting. And there was one alternative ending that I also had was, the film was about how she had a dance competition instead of him having it. And she gets ridiculed on stage, and then he gets onto stage as a bodybuilder and he does what he does. But, you make choices, you make decisions while you're writing a film. And we went right down. So it takes me a year and a half, to make these decisions every day. Like you've seen the film and you have this thought. But yeah. I've been through this process, and I've seen how it goes and where it goes. I'm like, we could just go on and on and on, talk about the process. But these are the decisions I've taken, that I think it was important that it was his. You may say he's not the underdog, but he is. Just look at him, and look at her in the film. She's the one. She's been through. She's a strong person out there. She's the one who knows how the world runs, and she can still be dignified.
Yeah.
That requires a lot of grace. And I'm very happy with the way I've seen Manvi and where she comes from and the way she's portrayed. I think it's the right way to portray this character. And yeah. Manu is a Punjabi Gabru and all of that, but he's all soft on the inside. He doesn't know anything. He's spoiled and pampered, with like most Punjabi boys are.
His ponytail is like
the awakening is for the men to have. They are the ones who should rise and see it. She's already arrived. He's the one who's 10 steps behind. So the distance is for him to cover. So the film is for these people. It's not about the pain of a trans person. It's about the acceptance that needs to come from the community and from society. So that's why it is structured and written the way it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about it today. And well done. And I'm glad that the film is doing well and these conversations are happening. Long time.
Thank you.
Overdue.
Thank you, Sucharita. Pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Abhishek. Bye. Bye, Gattu.
Gattu, yeah.
तो चंडीगढ़ करे आशिकी थिएटर्स में है, ये इंटरव्यू मेरे चैनल पे है और यहाँ पर सब्सक्राइब का बटन इधर समवेयर मेरे एक फेस आएगा, वहाँ पे क्लिक करोगे देन यू कैन सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल. आई हैव सो मेनी मोर इंटरव्यूज कमिंग अप, रिव्यूज रेगुलरली कॉन्स्टेंटली एंड लॉट्स ऑफ अदर फन स्टफ. 30,000 हो गए, होने वाले हैं 50 में मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट. अब चलो करो सब्सक्राइब इधर.